Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Afterlife podcast. This is your host, Pooja Chilakuri. And today I'm very excited to be in conversation with Pat Longo. Pat is a gifted spiritual counselor and healer, a teacher, and a past life regressionist. She's been practicing this for the last 25 years, and she's been committed to the healing of others. The energy that she channels is pure light and love. This powerful energy has been responsible for countless miraculous healings on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Pat has channeled long distance healings across the globe. She has worked in at least 45 countries, and her workshops are designed to teach others how to heal their lives and their bodies by learning forgiveness of love and self. Thank you so much for taking the time, Pat, to be on this show today.
Oh, thank you, Pooja, for asking me to come. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Me too. And I have lots of questions for you, and I'm going to jump right in.
Okay, jump ahead.
All right. So I'm pretty sure that you didn't just wake up one morning and decide that, you're a healer and I have all these gifts. What was that journey like? How did you come about to even discovering your gifts?
Actually, it happened just like that
Oh,
overnight. It did. I went to I call it a metaphysical class. It was a 10-week class in someone's home, and it was about all things metaphysical. It could be about angels, it could be tarot cards, it could be UFOs. It didn't matter. Whatever it was kind of a spiritual unknown nature, and every week was a different topic. In the third week, my hands started to get really, really hot, but I didn't connect it to the class. I didn't know why they were hot. And I said to my husband, my hands are burning, like burning hot pokers. And I joked about it, but I really didn't know what was wrong. I said, is this menopause? Because I was approaching 40. I said, I thought it was hot flashes, not hot hands. And, but the next week when I went into class, it was a rainy Monday morning. And many people that have any kind of soft tissue damage from an accident or disease, they ache when it rains or snows. So I noticed a woman in my periphery on a folding chair, and she kept uncrossing, recrossing legs, arms, turning, shifting. And it was very distracting, but she was off to my right. And the teacher asked me to move over. And she said, Pat, could you move over on the couch and let this person sit next to me? Of course I did. I moved over, and it was a tight squeeze because there were other people on the couch. And then she said, Pat, put your hand on her leg. And I looked at her like she was crazy, because why would I put my hand on her leg, on anybody's leg? And I put it there. I didn't do it at first. She kind of ushered me to do it again. She didn't take my cue from my eyeballs popping out of my head. So I put my hand on her leg, and I didn't do anything because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know I was a healer or had any such ability. And 2 minutes later, she had no more pain. So that began, let's just say my head spun a bit, and I drove home, and I don't know how I got home that day, because everything was like, why me? Where did this come from? What just happened? And then the journey began. I looked for a book. I couldn't find anything in the library. There was no New Age section. I went to the bookstore the next day. I did find a book called Healing Hands that I feel was very tremendous on my journey for helping me. My teacher was a psychic. She wasn't a healer, and I didn't know any other healers. So I started practicing on my siblings, and I didn't tell them. Somebody had a stiff neck, so I put my hand there and I give a little massage, and I'm thinking, trying to send energy in, and their stiff neck would go away immediately, but I would get it. So another one with a migraine, had a migraine issue. I'm doing the same thing with her. Same thing happened. She got rid of her headache, and I got it. So when I went home, because we were at a party that day, and they were in a hot tub, so I had access to both their heads. And I went home and I said to God, I absolutely want to serve. I surrender, but I can't walk around with everybody's pain. We need to figure something out. I didn't know, even at that time, what an empath was. I didn't know that when I was a child, I was sick all the time. And I come from 6 siblings. So I was always getting sick but I was feeling their pain and their illness because the doctor always said I was fine. And my dad started to call me a hypochondriac. I'm like, but it hurts. My throat hurts.
Yeah.
And it was all, again, because I was picking up other people's pain and illness. So
Mm.
that went on till I was well into my mid 30s. And I had a lot of things wrong with me. I had many autoimmune diseases. I had psoriatic arthritis by that time and thought I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 50. And I was 35 then. And now I'm going to be 74 this year. And everything went away as soon as I started channeling energy, because I know I don't do it myself. I never believed that for a
Mhm.
minute. I knew that I had a much higher power that was working through me. So what I have found out over the years is that this very large team of archangels works with me.
Mm.
Send people that can see
Mhm.
other dimensions have seen them. So they stand around me and whatever client I'm working with.
Mhm.
And the energy, their energy comes from their hands through the top of my head and
Mhm.
then comes out my hands into the top of the person's head in front of me.
Mm.
And it's an exchange of energy that's coming. And I never know who is going to get a miracle. I don't. I've seen more miracles than not, but I don't know anything. I don't listen or hear, or I don't do anything like that. I just allow it. I
Mhm.
trust it. I know that I've always believed that Jesus, Mary, and that's part of my religious belief. The angels, I call upon whatever I need,
Mhm.
whoever is there to help this person.
Mhm.
If somebody's struggling or with a battle with cancer or a battle with addiction, I immediately go to Archangel Michael because he is he wields the sword. He's the warrior. And so I take him to do battle. So it all
Mhm.
depends. Everything changes from day to day.
This is, to me, you have to understand, this is fascinating. I know this is like normal for you. This is your everyday life. What I'm sitting here listening to you in my heart is just, um, it is so beautiful to, but one thing that you said that caught my attention too, you did mention something about religious beliefs. Did
Mhm.
that ever get in the way of, because sometimes I know if people have been raised in certain very legalistic or fundamentalist type religious environments, then spiritual gifts are not really encouraged. And they may even look at it as if it's like,
I know.
yes, I think I know you do.
I've come across it.
Uh,
I went to Catholic school. My dad was actually going to be a priest before the war, and then he met my mother after the war.
mhm,
That otherwise I wouldn't be here. And I had always had questions as a child, and I didn't always see things exactly as they were presented to me. I just questioned things. Now, I don't speak of religion as a rule when I speak to anybody. I speak of faith.
mhm,
Okay. So when I was brought up and raised, Jesus and Mary were a big part of my religious
mhm,
belief.
mhm,
And I have seen Jesus come through me. Actually, others have seen him step into my body and actually take my hand and put it into a human's body and squeeze a tumor shut. But he sat in my body and did it. Okay, so I know he's a part of it. I have a big picture of him. And listen, he was Jewish.
yes,
Okay. I'm Catholic. All right. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's all about anybody's belief. So when I work in all these different countries that you mentioned, everybody has a source of, of power somewhere, whether it's the creator, Muhammad, there's names of all different people that they use. And I honor every one of them
mhm,
because I don't believe it's cut and dry.
yeah,
I don't believe in honestly organized religion.
yes,
I don't. It's a business.
yeah,
Okay. And people do enter it. Now
yeah,
let's say it the right way. People enter it because they want to help people.
yeah,
People enter it because they have a belief system that this is my calling, and they do help people. It's just different than what I do.
yes.
I know what happens through my hands is very, very, very real. So
Mhm,
no matter who puts a wall up against me,
mhm,
if they give me a second, they will find out. Sometimes the skeptics are the best.
Yeah, they are. Because once they believe, they're the ones that'll go and tell another million people.
Right. And,
Yeah.
I train people all over the world. And, I just was on with a client who channels beautiful angels
Yeah.
all the time. And I definitely have other students that all they channel is angels.
Yeah.
And they do amazing, beautiful work. And they're helping in every direction that you could possibly imagine
Yeah.
to help people move on from traumas and illness.
Yeah. And Pat, I know, apart from just healing, you just mentioned that you also train people. So how, I guess the question I'm asking is how would someone even begin to understand that they have gifts and, you know, how can,
Okay.
yeah,
Want to finish it?
no, that's my question.
Okay, because
I am one of those
I'm ready to
people.
go. Well, it happened simply. I'm just going to give you a little order of things.
Okay.
First, I had this energy coming out of my hands, these hot hands that I couldn't cool off. So I began touching. People would come and I would do, call in whoever, do it. And I said I wasn't going to see them anymore because I said, this is a God thing. This isn't about me. I did my job and that's it. I didn't ask anybody to report to me, nothing. I asked for nothing because I believed totally and completely in that faith that it was happening through me. So I didn't ask. And that's the way it was for a while. Then I started to realize that if I put my hands on people and I didn't talk to them about their traumas and their hurts, that I was doing them a disservice because I believe that emotional trauma and upset create illness. Whether it's angers, guilt, shames, loss, abuse, whatever that may be. I started to talk to people and then I began to counsel them and I would teach them how to forgive themselves and others, how to honor and love self and others, how to have integrity, how to have humility, how not to be prejudiced. So this is what I was teaching. It was kind of like balance, but I was teaching people to open up and then I would help them to find ways to be at peace. Okay. So then I would do the healing and it went that much further. Okay. Because people didn't call me back and say, my disease is back. It went away. Okay. So now I then said, well, if I can do this one-on-one with someone, why not have a class? And I started to invite people. We started it as a meditation class. That's what we called it. But as I meditated them, they would go so deep into meditation. And when they would come out, they would tell me these amazing stories of what they saw, that they were seeing the other side, that they were seeing their loved ones and they could hear them. And all these things started to happen. Other people started to feel their hands would get hot and I just watched it over and over and over again. I was teaching 4 classes at home for over 18 years. And every class was different. They just, like 125 people came through my house a week. And everybody has gifts. Everyone has the gift of intuition. God gave us the gift of life. He gave us the gift of intuition, but we don't have to open it in this life. He gave us a guide to help us navigate that intuition. And the biggest gift he gave us of all is free will choice. Choose whether you're going to open it, whether you're not, what direction, how you think, everything is all about our free will, however we choose to proceed. And so then what happened next, I noticed all of this happening and I began to do other things. I began to put people under hypnosis to heal them because I also found that we live many, many, many lifetimes. And I wasn't taught that. It's not how I was raised,
Yeah.
but I found it when I was meditating people. And stories just kept coming out. And I said, well, you know what? I need to look into this. And I read many, many, many books on it. I'm self-taught in everything that I do. And I began to do this. And I did it for healing. I wanted to find the difficult lives that they led that were affecting them now in this current lifetime. And it worked. and it was beautiful. I just did one yesterday. It's a constant. People always want to look. I don't do it for fun, and I don't do it for somebody's entertainment. I do it for their healing. Okay. And I have seen physical healing come from it, as well as continuous emotional healing. And, you know, everything just kept, it just kept coming and coming and coming. New things, new things, new things. So how did I teach? When I saw the gifts come out, I have a gift, and it's more than just the gift of healing. I call it, it's claircognizance. It is all knowing. I don't know how I know things. Things come out of my mouth. People tell me I say things to them that I have no recollection of. Many people have written about me in their books. I think I'm in 15 right now. And maybe I'm only a sentence. I could just be a sentence. But for some reason, when people read that person's book and they see my name in that sentence, they immediately seek me out. And I always ask, how did you find me? I'm like, but I'm only a sentence in that book. It doesn't matter. They hear my name on a podcast. I get these calls all the time. They hear my name and they stop listening to the podcast and they go look me up. So my belief is that they're advertising me on the other side. They're trying to get people to me that need my help. And, you know, so I just go, I kind of go with the flow. But I have the ability to, all right, I'm going to put it differently. I am an observer. Since this happened to me, I became an observer. Even at a family party, I will stand back and I watch. I watch everyone, how they interact. It's almost like I step out of myself a little, but I watched all of my students, all of those years, and I watched different things develop, and I saw how it happened differently for everyone. There are no two people the same. The gifts cannot be the same because we have our own soul blueprint. Right? It's the soul blueprint, and no one else has that. We might get DNA from our parents and share DNA with our children, but no one has our soul blueprint. So we can't be the same. And therefore, there should never, ever, ever be any type of competition in any field. I tell my students, don't look to the left and don't look to the right, because they cannot see like you, feel like you, heal like you, perceive like you. It's not possible. Okay. And that's because you, Pooja, have your own frame of reference. And I have mine. And I haven't walked in your shoes and you haven't walked in mine. So we can't be the same. We know the same person, but we'll perceive them differently. We may have a different relationship with them. We may watch the same movie, read the same book, and still perceive them differently. So I just kind of watched everyone and I paid attention, and I was able to form some type of a program to help them open up to their spiritual gifts. But it always starts with meditation. Meditation is the way to open up what we call the third eye. We have it. I've seen mine. I've seen it. And many people begin to speak to their loved ones on the other side, and then they speak to other people, and they start to heal them on both sides. Okay, they heal both sides because their mediums heal with their voice. They heal with their words. I heal with my hands and my words. They're bringing closure to both sides of the veil.
Oh my God.
I know it's a lot. I could talk for hours.
No, I could talk to you for hours about this, because when I was growing up, I had this belief that once people died, that was the end. Like you could never talk to them. It was over. Like it was so cruel, you know. And recently, after doing this podcast, especially talking to people that have seen their loved ones on the other side, and the relationship continues, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. And I saw my husband after he passed. Now, I do not do that. That's not what I do. But it was 2:43 in the morning. I had gotten up to go to the bathroom and I was getting back in bed, and I just hit the clock to see what time it was. And I got in. I was on my side with my back to the door. And I heard footsteps coming up the stairs, and they were men's footsteps. They sounded like almost like work boots. They were heavy feet. And I didn't think about it. I was living alone, but I really thought it was one of my sons. I have three sons. They all work nights, they all have keys, and sometimes they can't get home because they're tired. So maybe they'll go on my couch for a few hours. I have a guest room. Didn't even think about it. I didn't know which one it was. So I waited and see if anybody said anything to me, but nobody said anything, and they started to walk my way. Now, the guest room's on the other side. So now I'm annoyed, okay, because I'm thinking they're going to use the bathroom right outside my door, but there was a bathroom at the foot of the stairs. They do not know I'm awake. So I was really kind of irritated. I was going to say, what is wrong with you? But they didn't do that. They walked into my room. And when the footstep came off the carpet and went onto the wood floor, I thought I was having a home invasion because my children would never enter, even though the door was open. They would knock or they'd say, hey, Ma, are you up? Nobody would do that. They usually would call me first. They know I'm a light sleeper. So the steps come in my room. My back is to it. And I'm now looking at what's on my night table to see if I have anything to protect myself with, which I did not. Now I'm in a full motion waterbed, not easy to get out of. And there was an air conditioner in the window and I'm on the second floor. So all my options were up. So I thought, all right, I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to face whatever it is that's in my room. So I grabbed my comforter and I was on my left side and I pulled it in really tight to my shoulder. And I just peered over my shoulder. And there was my husband standing as clear as could be. He was in a red t-shirt that my daughter gave him for Father's Day. And it was several months after he passed. And as quickly as I saw him, he disappeared. But I was now comfortable because that wouldn't scare me. Somebody strange that's in physical form would scare me.
Yeah.
So he walked around to the side of the bed and I continued to hear him, but now I could feel that energy, stood there for maybe 10 seconds, and then walked around to his side of the bed. I heard the covers come up. He got in the bed, and I turned over and I put my hand, there was an actual, like a physical presence. I put my left arm over him, and it lasted maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes, and then it just slowly dissipated, and I went to sleep. So I've seen that, but I also have a granddaughter that has seen him since she's 10 years old all the time, and many, many, many others. And she's as innocent as the day is long. I have a sister that I trained to do this, and this is what she does for a living. She speaks to people all over this island, and then some all over probably a lot. Now it's all on Zoom, so you can reach a lot of people. I have nieces and nephews and grandnephews that are readers, healers. It's all over the place. You know, once you open the door and you understand it, even give it a little opening, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
turning back. So I've got little babies with some of my grandchildren are really little, and they've seen lots of things. You know, they see my husband. Oh, Papa was playing with me with my dollhouse today, and they're very little. You could be 3 years old, and it doesn't matter. I see a lot of children that are very gifted and even know their past lives. They can say to their mommy, you know, I'm talking about my other mommy.
Wow.
And another little girl that I know, her mother was ill with cancer, and she told her aunt, she says, oh, we're going to have a new mommy. You know, it cannot be denied. Let's just put it that way. It cannot be denied. The miracles that I have seen from the energy that runs through my body is astronomical.
Yeah.
It's always was word of mouth. I
Yeah.
didn't go searching people out. I was very quiet about it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything in the beginning. It took me a long time. And then a gentleman came and he challenged me. And he's my friend to this day, but it was 2013. He said to me, if you can heal me, I'll build you a website. And in a few days, I had a website. And then he was a big skeptic. Oh my goodness, he was there against his free will. Trust me, his wife sent him and he was there against his free will. Sat with his arms folded, all puffed out. Basically was just saying, okay, show me what you got. And I said, just trust me, okay? And he healed And then he made me do Facebook. He put me on Facebook right in front of me. I'm like, I don't even know what Facebook is, because I started this long before computers. There were no computers when there was no internet and there were no cell phones. So everything was done very differently. I would either talk to somebody on the phone, see somebody in person. If I couldn't see them, say they were in Australia or the UK, I would write their name down on a piece of paper and I would focus my energy into their name. And eventually I realized I don't need their name or their picture. I just close my eyes and they're in front of me. And that's it. So again, this is all about unconditional faith. I have unshakable faith.
Yes, that's awesome. And I think your family is very blessed to have you like the little children because you're there to validate those gifts. And I think about all those people that have these gifts, but it gets shoved under the rug because it's
Don't
not
know what
social.
to do with them. But you know
Yeah.
what happens? They get extreme anxiety.
Yes.
And when I wrote my book, The
Yeah.
Gifts Beneath Your Anxiety, that was what it was for. I had a different title to my book,
Mhm,
but the
mhm,
publishing company didn't recommend it. And I understood when I heard the reason,
mhm.
but I thought it was going to say, you're not sick, you're psychic. I said it every day to people. You're not sick, you're psychic. This is
Yeah.
really metaphysical. It's not medical. And I was able to help everybody get rid of their anxiety and
Yeah.
open up to their gifts. But according to the publishing company, if I would have put the word psychic on the book, people would have walked away from it.
A lot of people would have, and honestly, it's the title of your book that drew me to your book because I said to myself, how can anything to do with anxiety have a gift? That's not a gift. It
I know
feels
it's
like
like a curse.
it
Okay.
hurts so much, right? And listening to you, Pat, I really hope that this, and I know my viewers and listeners, I hope it's going to bring so much closure to so many people because so many have lost their loved ones over COVID and in
Yes.
general, right? There's just so much trauma going around. So thank you for sharing all that, especially even, with your husband visiting. I know they're all around us, near us. We just sometimes don't know how to hear them, right? Or to feel.
Well, it's very quiet. We hear them in our voice. We
Yeah.
don't hear them in a big booming male voice or a
Hmm.
female voice. We hear them in our thoughts, our
Yeah.
random thoughts, our repetitive thoughts. We don't even realize that we're being talked to all the time, all day,
Yeah.
and our guides and our angels and our loved ones are trying to get our attention.
Yeah.
Okay, now when I found out about my granddaughter, she was 10 at that moment. And I knew at 8.5 that she had a severe anxiety. And I stopped it that day. And I gave her a tool. She used that tool and she's 17 now. And again, she sees all over the place, but she's okay with it. I gave her boundaries. I don't need her to be reading people right now.
Hmm.
She has a life and school and college and whatever comes. When the time is right, she'll come to me and I will teach her what she needs to know. But the most important thing is the anxiety is gone. I feel so many people struggle with this horrific dis-ease of anxiety, and they don't understand the connection between hormones and spirituality.
Hmm.
And when children go into puberty that have already started to be anxious, when puberty hits, it goes through the roof. And people do all kinds of things. They start alcohol,
Hmm.
drugs. They try to do things to numb themselves because they don't know what's wrong with them.
Hmm.
Sometimes they'll do cutting of oneself.
Hmm.
Sometimes they'll attempt suicide, and sometimes they'll actually succeed. If they can get through middle school, high school, even college without being addicted, that is an amazing feat. But so many do not. And I've seen the results. I'll see addicts come to me, even heroin addicts.
Hmm.
One man said he shot up heroin before he walked in my door. And when he left, an hour and a half later, it was gone. He
Hmm.
opened his eyes and he looked at me and he looked around my room and he just said to me, I haven't had clarity since I was 13. And he was 38 years old. And he did not go back to it. I saw him not as a professional, but I saw him. His son went to school with my grandson. So I saw him at his son's communion. I saw him at a school concert, and he just gave me two huge hugs. and that's it. So again, I I am also here to help people pass. It's
Mhm.
one of my jobs. It was one of the first things I did when this started.
Mhm.
I thought to myself, what's going on here? I thought I was here to help people, but that's your ego. Sometimes I'm here to help people transition,
Mhm.
help them without pain
Mhm.
to make that crossing.
Mhm.
And I certainly did it with my husband. And, you can't heal everyone. It's not possible.
No, it's not
We have,
possible.
I believe we have a contract, and we're here to do certain things to help certain people, to even to have children, or to just make a difference in somebody's life. There's many ways
Mhm.
to help people. You
Yes.
don't have to just be a healer or a psychic or a
Yeah.
medium to help
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
People help people all over the world, or every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was going to be my next question. Being an empath and a healer is so tempting, right? Like, I would be very tempted, like, oh, I want to go to every hospital. And it's just not possible. It's not
Um,
humanly. That's our ego getting in the way.
there was a time when I wanted to go work with petri dishes.
Mhm.
I thought if I could get into a lab and I could prove that you can actually change the energy of of those cells, and I know it would work. I do know that, but the opportunity didn't present itself, and
Mhm.
here I am. I'm no spring chicken anymore, but I'm still in good shape. And I have a lot to do left in this world. I have a lot
Mhm.
to do.
Mhm.
And I get asked all the time. I go to seminars and I go to workshops and weekends. And I just got invited to a farm and in Pennsylvania, and I accepted yesterday. And she loves me and wants me there. And she's going to have a community come in of spiritual people. And whatever I'm going to teach them, I'm going to teach them. I rarely say no, because to me, this is another megaphone. This is
Mhm.
another way to get this information out, a different venue,
Mhm.
different groups of people.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
I do a lot of talking.
Yeah,
And it's all about helping.
it is.
When my book went out, every page and every word in that book, I put healing into. I
Mhm.
put healing into it.
Mhm.
And when I put healing into it, I asked, this was before COVID,
Mhm.
2019. I
Mhm.
actually asked for it to spread like a virus, but not the virus we got. It would have been a good virus. That's how I put it out there. Spread
Yeah.
it to the people that need it. And
Yeah.
it went into other countries. I know Israel picked it up.
Yeah.
And I didn't never got it translated into Hispanic, and I should have, because I have so many countries that have
Speak.
difficult time communicating. Most countries speak English as a
Yeah.
second language.
Yes.
So all those other countries, every now and then I have an interpreter.
Yeah.
Somebody will come on with that person and be able to do it. And,
Yeah.
but there's so many Hispanic countries.
Mhm.
So I've been in a lot of them. I mean, I've gotten to a lot,
Yeah.
but there are others that I just can't.
Yeah.
And, they write to me in these different languages, and I'm trying to say, get an interpreter and we can work together. Otherwise, I can't help. But
Yeah. I really loved reading your book. And everybody that listens and watches this show, they know that I don't see it lightly. People that I interview, I really enjoy reading their work, getting to know them, before we come on and talk. And the one thing about your book, Pat, that really, really stood out for me is all of the meditations that you have in there. And they're all different meditations for different situations. And you wouldn't think, but like each one of them is unique. And I've really started practicing a couple of them, especially your surround, ground, and shield technique. As I've been an empath all my life, and I didn't know that word until 10 years ago, which is, I was around 40, so that's pretty late in
probably
life.
around when I heard it.
Yes. And I was like, what is that? That sounds so much like my childhood and me. And one of the problems I've always had is with boundaries. And it's not so much, I've had to learn how to make boundaries with people, but it's the spiritual boundaries. I
Yes.
don't know how not to feel those low vibrating negative when I walk into a room or when we're out. Like I pick that up faster than I pick up the positive. And so those
Okay.
meditations are very helpful for me. Thank you
I'm
so much.
going to give you, I'm going to give you another clue. Okay. You're going to command your own space. Now, commanding your space is where you eat, sleep, breathe, walk, and talk. Okay.
Mm,
And if you command your space, no one is allowed in my space. If you're
mm,
not from God's light, you need to leave.
please.
Okay. And I say it a little differently when I give it to my homework, or in my book, it'll say only spirits who walk in the white light of God are welcome here. All negative energies or entities must leave by the power of the I am, which to me is God. So you can say it as simple as get the flock out of here if you need to, but it's really about how you say it and the strength of your conviction. And it works. It works with all my mediums. I'm telling you, I don't know how I know these things sometimes. And when I developed that surround ground shield, it was so that I wouldn't pick up anything anymore. And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked right away.
Yeah.
So, use that. I know it's in there somewhere in the book. A lot of people highlight it, a lot of people audio it.
Yeah.
But I tried to put as much in that book as I could
Mm-hmm.
to try to help all of those empaths to
Yes.
stop picking that up.
Yeah.
So your surround ground shield does it, and commanding your space.
Space.
People that can't sleep at night because they're anxious, because they feel things,
Mm-hmm.
once you command that space, they must leave. It's like a universal law.
Uh-huh.
You
That,
also, I'm going to tell you something for your sake. When you say you go into places, and you also have to do the surround ground shield every day.
mm-hmm.
Do it if you listen to it on Audible. Did you read the book or listen?
I read it.
Okay. So if you were to do it with me, okay, and really, I'm sorry, my landscapers just showed up.
That's okay.
If you were to do it with me and just listen and put it around you and ground yourself in and shield yourself, you could have a shortcut. Okay, all you'd have to say is surround ground shield and it's done. You probably can because you've done it already with the book,
Mm-hmm.
but it's imperative to say it every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had a woman that she came to me, and she was a teacher, and her husband had to bring her to me because she was in such terrible shape with anxiety. She couldn't drive, it was awful. And she practiced it for 5 weeks straight, never had a problem. And then she forgot one day, and she went into a food store, and she said energy hit her from every direction. She said, I never surrounded, grounded, and shielded so fast. It's palpable. It's like when a doctor gives you a placebo. It works. It's all about thoughts. Thoughts become things.
Yes. You
Thoughts
said
become
that in your book several times
say it
and
over and over again. People
yeah.
get tired of hearing me say it.
No.
I tell people sometimes, if you remember nothing else that I say, just remember, thoughts become things, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I'll even tell them if they come in with a lot of tattoos, I'll say, you see your finger right here? Put it right across your finger where you could see it every day. Thoughts become things.
Thanks. Yeah.
Very powerful statement, and I didn't make it up. It's
Yeah.
just a truism. Just
Yeah.
like what goes around comes around, or fear is your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Okay, that is my one of my biggest ones, and I'll tell people the only thing you have to fear is fear itself.
Yes.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
The more people fear something, it goes out into the collective consciousness of the world, and everyone, it's just like COVID, okay?
Yeah.
I believe personally myself that it could have stopped a lot sooner if everyone wasn't so frightened by social media. And
Yeah.
I believe it would have stopped a
Yeah.
lot sooner, but it just perpetuated and perpetuated and perpetuated, you
Yeah.
know,
And so, yeah.
become things.
Yes. And I just want to say, Pat, that I don't want to let you go. It's we're running out of time, but I so badly want to continue this conversation. For those that are listening and watching, you can absolutely continue your conversation with Pat, because I am going to include all of her links, how you can access her and connect with her. You were saying earlier about all of the universe advertising. I feel like heaven found me to advertise also for you, because I'm so, when I read your book, when I have visited your YouTube channel, it just has helped me so much. So I want to spread that and share that, Pat.
I am very grateful because for every
Yeah,
person, I get so many letters and
yeah,
so many thank yous. And, I don't have anxiety anymore. I can drive to school. I can go to a restaurant. I
yeah,
can date. I don't have to feel this feeling anymore. People have missed going to their children's weddings
yeah,
because the anxiety or the agoraphobia has become so bad. And it's not
mm,
difficult to stop.
yeah,
But the medications that people are taking are not always the best choice. I love doctors, medicine. We need them desperately for many, many different things.
yeah.
But this is not medical, it's metaphysical.
It is metaphysical. And
Metaphysical.
mhm. And I'm going to say one last thing before I close, because this just popped in my head from your book. You're talking about anxiety in children and the solar plexus, and just putting some weight there. Like I just have to share this with you, because for years and years, there's a teaching from Jesus that I was trying to unpack for years, and I'm not quoting this correctly, I think, but it's something about, if you believe me, out of your belly shall flow living water. And I used to get really stuck on that word belly.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, I said, why belly? Why not my heart? Why not my mind? Why not my soul? Why my belly? And I read your book and I said, oh, that's why. It's the
Uh-huh.
solar
And that
plexus.
solar plexus is below the sternum. It's above your navel and below the sternum, uh, under your rib cage. And it is the area that everyone is most sensitive in. That's where the empath
Yeah,
feels. That's where the energy comes in when you
yeah,
feel somebody's
yeah,
uh, even doing a reading. People
yeah,
can read from feel.
yeah.
You can, it's the center of addiction.
Yep.
It's the center of low self-esteem.
Yes.
It's the center of anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
And once it's covered, many people walk around with their arms folded and they don't know why. Now, you
Oh,
can't walk around everywhere like that, but that covers it. If you
mm,
put a pillow in front of you when you're sitting with friends, it covers it. Some
mhm,
women, maybe even young men, will put their knees up when they're teenagers and they'll wrap their arms around their knees when they're hanging around with family or friends. All the time, their guides have been trying to say, cover, cover,
mhm.
protect yourself. Now, women have purses, and oftentimes they hang them over their shoulder and they put them in front of them when they're walking through a city street or
Yeah.
through a mall, and that covers you. So
Yes.
many things stop it, but if you don't know it, how is it going to help?
Help. Yeah.
So surround ground shield, get that shield on, learn it, watch it, listen to it, read it, figure it out, because anxiety can be a thing of the past.
Yes.
And
And
that's,
this conversation for me is a treasure trove. Your book has so many treasures in there. I'm going to include all the links, Pat. Thank you so much for taking the time to spread your light.
well, I
Thank
loved
you.
meeting you and thanks for asking me. And let's spread it like a good virus.
Yes, and I look forward to remaining connected.
You got it.
Thank you. Bye.